I'm going to be talking to you about the big food self-sustainability drive and the malaria incidence in Nigeria, a need for policy coherence. So primarily the aim of this study is to bring about an evidence-based research, so as to bring about advocacy for government to introduce policy coherence into the agricultural and health policies or agricultural program. So how did we go about it? In Nigeria, agriculture was neglected, and we started having a series of problems. Number one, food shortage. So just in 2000, last year, about 17.8% inflation was recorded by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So also, there was, as a result of that, there was high food import bills, rise in importation cost to about 1 billion naira, that's about $590,000 every day on average. That record was given by the former Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Additional. Also, there was hunger, there was malnutrition. 25.5 global hunger index was recorded by IFPRI. Nigeria is 84th in 118 countries in 2016. So poverty level is also increasing by the day. Fitch report put it at 72% in 2016. So as a result of all this, government now decided, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to be spending money on rice importation? So decided, there are so many collaborations, national, international, regional collaborations. So, such as presidential initiative on rice. We have national rice development strategy. We also have agricultural transformation agenda being put in place by the government. At the regional level, we have ECOWAS Zero Hunger Initiative, the West African Agricultural Productivity Program, the ECOWAS Regional Offensive Program on rice, and the West African Regional Food Security Reserve. At the regional level, we have the Nepal, we have the Kathmandu, we have the Coalition for African Rice Development. At multinational financial institutions also, they're helping out with agricultural development projects and FADAMA in the country. We have United Nations as well, and African Union. So all these collaborations have not been able to provide the quantity of rice that we're supposed to be eating in Nigeria. So they have not been able to solve all these problems of poverty, hunger, malnutrition, high food imports, bills, then food shortage in Nigeria. So the policy direction is to increase rice production in the country through introduction of irrigation all over the country. And from various studies in the past, we know that when there is irrigation, there is possibility of increase in malaria as a result of increase in the population of mosquitoes that would be as the parasite. So according to the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, just in the period of about 30 years, Nigeria had lost about 9.9 million people to malaria. That's about the population of Niger State, a state in Nigeria, Federal Capital Territory, and Ekiti, then Ebonyi State. These population census, population figures are according to the National Population Census. They carried out in 2006. So if you look at the figure of people that have been killed by malaria and the population, you discover that about 4 states and the Federal Capital, they have been wiped out by malaria. So this is a very serious issue in the country. We have economic burden being placed by malaria. We have productivity loss. So what are the research questions? So what socioeconomic characteristics enhance malaria spread? What economic burden is placed by malaria? What number of hours are they lost to malaria treatment? Again, what choices do they make in malaria, that is farmers? Then what is the level of efficiency of rice farmers? What efficiency differential exists between households with malaria and households without malaria? I know there will be a lot of questions around that area, but don't worry, I will explain. Specific objectives that were taken out of the questions: socioeconomic characteristics of respondents that influence malaria incidence, awareness level or current practices employed to address malaria by farmers, that is the choice they make. Then economic burden of malaria on farmers was looked into. Effect of malaria on rice farmers' technical efficiency was also looked into. Then the differentials in technical efficiency between malarious and non-malarious also was looked into. So these are the hypotheses put forward. In all hypotheses, there is no significant difference in the socioeconomic characteristics of farming households with malaria and without malaria. Also, we looked at no significant difference in the level of input use between farmers, households with malaria and those without malaria. And there is no significant difference in the technical efficiency of farmers in households with malaria and without malaria. So what's the methodology? We chose Ebonyi State, Ekiti State, and Niger State. These states are leading rice-producing areas in the country. So, and Apiko South local government in Ebonyi State is known for lowland rice cultivation. If doing a record in Ekiti State grows upland rice, whereas Niger State, Lavun local government area in Niger State grows irrigated rice. We chose 5 communities from each of these local government and 40 houses from each of the communities. Then we went ahead to have about 200. So the very first stages, that is the first and the second, was purposive. The last stages were done randomly. So eventually we retrieved about 177 questionnaires, 198 from Ekiti State and 95 from Niger State. That's a map of Nigeria if you don't know Nigeria. So there's a map. Those are the states being indicated where the studies was carried out. That's a lowland rice production area of Ipo local government in Ebonyi State. That's a map of, if we're looking record on local government, where upland rice is grown mainly, and a map of Niger State showing Lavun local government where we have irrigated rice production. So what are the analytical tools used? I don't want to bother you with all the jargons, mathematical jargons, so I just stated the ones used. Objective 1, 2-bit model, multinomial logic model. 2-bit model was used to look at what socioeconomic characteristics influence malaria incidence in the areas mentioned. Multinomial logic model was used to analyze what are the choices, what are the factors that affect the choices made by farmers to go for a particular malaria caregiver. Then the cost of illness method was used to analyze what is the economic burden that is being placed by malaria on the respondent. And finally, stochastic frontier production model was used to see what efficiency or inefficiency was brought about by malaria. So the results so far. This is a pooled data result. That shows that household size, education, annual income, treatment cost, farm distance, then marital status, they greatly influenced malaria incidents in the area. But however, you will see that household size is negative, meaning that as household size increases, malaria incidence decreases. So the only explanation that we have in that regard is that probably because when the population increases, the household will take more caution because they know that they are going to spend a lot of money for malaria treatment when there is outbreak of malaria. So all that, they perform effectively because we can see education, as education increases, definitely malaria incidence decreases because people are not knowledgeable about how to take good care of themselves. Then we have annual income. Yes, when you have more money, you have money to take care of preventive measures so that you don't have malaria. And then we have the treatment cost. As the treatment cost increases, definitely, this is a health belief model developed by Osman some time ago, in the 50s rather, that there could be a kind of barrier when there is increase in treatment cost. So that supports that. Then farm distance. We discovered some of these farmers, especially in the irrigated areas, some of them lived about 10, 15 meters away from their farm plots, irrigated plots. So definitely there could be a kind of influence of malaria spread because there will be abundance of mosquitoes in the area. Then we have marital status also. Don't let me bother you about this because this is just showing what happens in each of the areas that we carried out the analysis. So household size, very important in Niger State, and then clinic distance, treatment cost, farm distance also in Niger State. Why did we bring this out? We want to show you that actually, because this is where we plant irrigated rice. So we want to really show you that malaria actually affects, irrigation actually affected and influenced the spread of malaria in the area. The next thing, okay, those are the statistics. We tested whether there is a kind of significant difference between households with malaria and households without malaria. So we looked what influence is there a difference between the educational level of these different types of households? So we discovered that from the results, paired t-test, paired samples t-test shows that there is a significant difference in the educational level of the household, of different households, the malarious and the non-malarious household. This is the result of the multinomial logic regression about choice of malaria treatment. One stands for preference between public hospital and self-medication. Two stands for private clinic and self-medication. Three stands for traditional medicine and self-medication. Self-medication happens to be the outcome-based because that's the practice that majority of the respondents, that's what they did. Then on the elements of cost, we saw that each person that was sick spent about 2,870 naira. That's about $9,000. Sorry, $9 treating malaria. Then that's in Niger State, whereas in Ebonyi State they spent about 1,940. That's about $6. You may think that this money is very small, but come to think of it, these are people that cannot afford $1.25 expenditure just in a day. So for them to be spending that much of money, so some are killing. So then they lost about 11.1% of their annual income on malaria treatment. Then from our analysis, we discovered that each of them lost about 6.1 kilogram of rice, totaling 3.5 tons of rice being lost. Okay, those are the variables that influence this outputs. Whereas the one below are the variables that influence inefficiency in all those areas. This efficiency score higher for non-malarious households, but lower for non-malarious households. Also, the t-test malarious and malarious households seed quantity used shows that there was a kind of significant difference between seed quantity used by non-malarious household and malarious household. Also, there was a significant difference between the technical efficiency of the malarious and non-malarious household. So the conclusion, those are the variables was significant. Averagely, about 9% of the annual income was spent on malaria, and lost about 6.1 kg. Malarious households are found to be lower in technical efficiency than the non-malarious household. The study evidently linked malaria to poor technical efficiency of rice farmers. The recommendation efforts should be made by the government and non-government organizations to ensure that malaria drugs are available at affordable prices due to high treatment costs. Rice farmers should be enlightened by extension workers on the need to live further away from the irrigated farm plots to avoid frequent attacks by malaria. Policies to address rice output increase should incorporate health policies in rural Nigeria because malaria households were found to be lower in technical efficiency than the non-malarious households. Thank you so much.